Hi guys, welcome back to another edition of the Clean Slate, your daily fantasy golf preview show on DK TV. My name's Geoff Ulrich, and this week the tour is headed to LA for the Northern Trust Open. It's one of the more longer standing sort of traditional events on tour, and there's a great field, lots of big international names. It should make for some really competitive, really exciting golf this week. If you haven't checked out the DraftKings lobby, definitely do so after you're done checking out this video. There's a ton of great PGA contests going on. There's a $250,000 best ball tournament going on this week. It's $50,000 to first place, only $20 entry fee. I would definitely recommend checking it out quickly. These PGA tournaments are popular and they have been selling out fast. Let's get to the slate notes, though, for the week. Let's talk about the course. They are playing Riviera Country Club this week. It is a par 71, 7,300 yards. And there's only one course in play this week, which is nice for research purposes. It's an older style course, a little bit more traditional setting, tree-lined fairways, but it can play really tough. And the winning score here last year was only -6. There's 3 par 5s in play. There's lots of long, tough par 4s on this course as well. And it's a course that's tended to favor shot makers over the years. Puts a lot of pressure on players to hit the fairway off the tee and on their approach shots as well. Lots of long Kikuyu-style rough that can make playing out of it really tough. Just makes the course play a little bit longer as well. There's also a really cool drivable par 4 10th hole that you'll definitely want to check out when you're watching it. Just a tiny green, but it's really hard to hit, and it actually ends up playing over par a lot of years. Overall, this course should play pretty tough. I think you'll see a winning score around -10 if the weather stays good. In the field this week, there's 140 players. But there's a lot of elite talent at the top. I mentioned there's a lot of big international names here. The top 70 players and ties will make the cut after Friday. I would just expect a really tough week. Lots of good players here for sure. Let's get to tournament tips, though. My first tournament tip, look for good pulse strikers this week. I think there's a lot of players who are in the field who are long and accurate off the tee. Look for players who can handle some of those longer approach shots that this course is going to present. Look at the ball striking categories, look at strokes gained tee to green. I think these are good statistical categories to look at as far as barometers for players this week. My other tournament tip is just look for players with good recent form. A lot of past winners have tended to come in here off good performances. The last 5 winners have actually had top 30s in their previous events prior to their win here. So it's just a hard course to find your game at this week. Let's talk tournament history as well. There's a lot of data to work with. Riviera has been the host course for this tournament, I should say, since 1973. There's a lot of players with nice records here as well. KJ Choi, he's got an amazingly consistent record at this event. He's made the cut every year here since 2001. And he's also recorded numerous top finishes. He just looks like a really solid cash game play to me at 7,100 this week. Then you have Keegan Bradley. He doesn't have a long record here, but he definitely loves this course. He's made 4 straight cuts. He's got finishes of 4th place and 2nd place in that span. So he's definitely looking like a consistent option as well. You have Bill Haas, who's a former winner of this event in 2012. He has finishes of 12th place and 3rd place in his last 4 appearances. He definitely fits the horse for a course category as well. Then you have Dustin Johnson, who's making an appearance on this list once again. He's put together finishes of 2nd place, 3rd place, 4th place, and 10th place since 2009. He's coming here once again looking for a breakthrough victory. Hasn't been in great form, but definitely a player who can turn around really quickly. Let's talk studs, though. Let's talk some of these big names at the top of the field. And there's a lot of big international players in this field this week. Rory McIlroy is going to be making his PGA debut. He's the same price as Jordan Spieth. They're both really expensive this week. I'd expect them both to be fairly similarly owned, but Rory definitely makes for an interesting play. He's coming off some good performances in the desert. You also have Sergio Garcia and Charles Schwartzel in the field this week. Schwartzel's actually coming off a win in South Africa. Sergio Garcia actually playing pretty well too. He's coming off a top 10 in the Middle East. Both of these guys are great ball strikers, and both of them have pretty good records at Riviera too, actually. Sergio Garcia was actually in the lead here on Sunday last year, kind of blew it, but I wouldn't overlook either of these players. You also have Bubba Watson and Dustin Johnson up there with the top. Both of these guys are coming off sort of slow starts to their season, but they both have really good records here. I could see either one of these guys rebounding. I kind of like Bubba a little bit more this week. I think he's been hitting the ball okay. Just hasn't had those putts drop for him yet. Definitely will feel comfortable on this course, though. A little bit lower down, you also have Jimmy Walker and JB Holmes. These guys have just been tearing it up on the West Coast. They both have nice records, and they're just looking like solid cash game plays to me. Let's talk sleepers, though. Let's look for some players with solid recent form this week in the lower prices. I think there's a lot of strong plays at the 7K range this week. A lot of interesting players. I really like Mark Leishman. He's a really strong par 4 player. Won on the European Tour over the winter. He's been hitting it pretty well. Hasn't had a lot of big performances yet this year, but I think he could turn it around this week. Also like Patrick Rogers at the same price. He just hits it a ton off the tee. Great ball striker. I think he's going to be able to handle this course really well, and I really like him for the price too. In the 6K range, I think you got to take a look at Vaughn Taylor this week. He's only 6,800. He's coming off that amazing win. I think he's going to be popular, but he's a really solid ball striker, obviously playing well, and I think he makes for a really good play at 6,800. Another player I'm kind of looking at the same price, Blaine Barber. He shot a 65 here last year on Sunday in a rainstorm, and he tied for 12th. He just tends to play tough courses pretty well, and I think he's going to make for an interesting GPP play, a nice tournament play. Definitely someone who you could consider at that price this week. As far as favorites go, I think you should look for some big bounce backs from some of those big names. Spieth definitely played well here last year. I think he knows the course, and I think he's going to be in better form than he was last week. I think he'll also be lesser owned, which is interesting. And I would also expect Bubba Watson and Dustin Johnson to possibly rebound this week. I do like the way Bubba's been playing, even though he hasn't had a top finish lately, and I won't be shocked if he's in contention this week either. Final thoughts, I would just say don't be afraid to roster some of those lesser-known international players. They might not be as popular, but guys like Charles Schwartzel, Sergio Garcia, they've been turning up overseas. I think they make for interesting plays this week. I think just overall, you're going to see a little bit of a different tournament. It's more of an elite field, much different golf course, and I think you're going to see a lot of these top players near the lead on Sunday. Should be a really good competitive week. Lots of great coverage as well. Definitely check out the DraftKings playbook after you're done watching this video. They have a lot of great fantasy articles and advice across all the major sports. That's also where you can find my PGA cheat sheet every week. It's got my thoughts for the week, a little bit more golf information if you're looking for it. And it's just a good source of information for your fantasy rosters. Thanks a lot for checking out this video, guys. I hope you have a great week, and we will talk to you again soon.